Education. Mr. Tell, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Bate,
I am here.
Mr. Schwegler,
Here.
Mr. Leftwich.
Here.
I am here, Mr. McGuire,
Here.
Dr. Laszlo,
Here.
Ms. Romanelli.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you for coming, everybody. Would you please rise and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep.
All right, good evening. Thank you. Southline Community Schools is fortunate to have so many great teachers that represent our schools and serve our students. And tonight we are pleased to have three of those outstanding educators here with us as our recipients of the 2022-23 Southline Community Schools Teacher of the Year. So it's an exciting time and a great night to honor the teachers that deserve this recognition. And again, we are fortunate to have so many, but this year we were able to focus in on three. And just a quick shout out, this year we added a special perk for one of the three teachers was an agreement we had with Feldman Chevrolet. So want to give Feldman Chevrolet some praise and love for their sponsorship. One of our teachers was selected to receive a 2-year lease on a new bright red Equinox that she is enjoying. Putting a little few too many miles on it, but enjoying nonetheless. So thank you to Feldman Chevrolet. And first up, we're going to hear from Mrs. Testani, the principal at Hardy Elementary, who is going to share information about their Teacher of the Year, and Mr. Naughty, assistant principal at Hardy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's an incredible pleasure to be here to celebrate Ashley Bentz, who is Southline Elementary's Teacher of the Year. As a 6-year teacher at Hardy Elementary, Ashley is currently teaching first grade in our co-taught program. There are so many reasons we have that she should be Teacher of the Year. We're going to try and narrow that down to a few tonight for you. Ms. Bentz is a continual learner, always seeking to grow and improve her practice. She's a deep thinker and problem solver that consistently seeks out-of-the-box solutions to meet student needs and address concerns. Engagement is a definite strength for her as she exudes positivity and builds strong relationships with students. When working with students, Ms. Bentz focuses on student strengths and creates lessons and learning opportunities that help students progress and grow. Ms. Bentz always creates a classroom environment where all students are safe and can learn. She maintains a calm, structured learning environment where everyone can succeed. Building relationships with families is one of Ms. Bentz's greatest strengths. She believes in partnering with families and is always willing to go above and beyond. As a parent shared, it's like Ashley has the magic touch. In reality, she is strategic, organized, positive, and intentional. I couldn't ask for a better teacher for my son. She truly is the definition of amazing. Ms. Bentz is often sought out by other teachers to support classroom behaviors and is a leader in identifying successful strategies to support classroom management. As a colleague shared, Ashley is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to accommodations and meeting students where they are. As someone who has the privilege of working with Ashley on a daily basis, I've witnessed her dedication and passion for working with children and doing what is best, regardless of any obstacles she may come across. She is willing to push boundaries and grow the thinking of others when it comes to finding common ground and best practices to better each and every student. We feel really privileged to have Ashley as part of the Hardy team and couldn't ask for a better teacher for our students. Thank you, Ms. Bentz, for all you have done and continue to do for Hardy, our students, and our community. Congratulations. This is so well deserved.
Ashley, did you want to give a speech?
No, I Thank you.
Just an observation, Hattie is extremely well behaved this evening.
Yes.
It's nice, I like
All
it.
the time.
All the time.
It's
Are
her
you
trainer.
insinuating she's not?
Nope, the aspiring administrators meeting the other day, there was a lot more energy. Okay, good deal, well, congratulations.
I'm the negative influence on Hattie.
All right, well, thank you. And next up, we have Mr. David Morrow. He is our administrative intern at Centennial Middle School. Unfortunately, Mrs. Burry was a little under the weather tonight.
Lost her voice. Thanks for having me. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. It is an honor to be here and recognize these outstanding teachers tonight. A huge shout out to all of the CMS and SLCS teachers who dedicate themselves to the profession. Speaking of dedication, It's a pleasure to recognize Leanne Lambert for the Middle School Teacher of the Year. Leanne has taught in our district for 32 years, where she began at the elementary level and then continued on to teach middle school and has been at Centennial teaching for math for many years. Not only did Leanne choose to spend her career in South Lyon, she also attended South Lyon Community Schools. Tonight, we thank her for her dedication to teaching and learning, as her instruction and passion for education are second to none. Leanne has had a lasting impact on Centennial Middle School by being a collaborative team member. The sixth grade team and the math department count on her for fun and exciting ideas for their lessons. Additionally, they work together to solve problems so that students are successful. For example, last spring when the Summer Jumpstart program was just beginning, Leanne took time to sit down with some of her colleagues to share ideas that she knew would be helpful for students. She even spent her own time calling families to help students enroll in the program. Leanne is always there to help her colleagues and to work for student success. Leanne is always willing to try something new. She understands the importance of scaffolding a lesson experience for students and is not afraid to break lessons down into smaller parts to help students understand. One time, she knew students would benefit from teaching the lesson to someone else. She had the idea to pull a couple of students together to give a lesson to Garth, our therapy dog, and it was a hit. Leanne sure is not afraid to try anything to help her students understand math. Here are some words from colleagues, parents, and students that show what Leanne brings to CMS on a daily basis. One of her colleagues writes, Leanne is a professional and a good role model. Her colleague writes, she is easy to talk to and wears a smile, even during her tough days. Leanne offers help to those who need it when she is available. One of her parents writes, Mrs. Lambert goes above and beyond expectations for her learners on a daily basis. She uses creative methods to teach her lessons. She has brainstormed individual teaching methods after listening to our experiences with strategies that we've seen work for him in the past. Rather than simply mark these answers wrong, she's repeatedly noticed and redid missing problems with my son to assess where the issue was, with the end result of better learning. She's then communicated back to us these findings and successes. One of her students write, if you make a mistake, she's super nice about it, and you can just get through it. If you solve the mistake, you'll be fine. I'm understanding math this year because Mrs. Lambert has made a difference for me. Congratulations, Leanne, and thank you for your dedication, collaboration, and willingness to always put our students first. And thank you for making CMS a wonderful place to be.
Leanne, did you want to give a speech? You're good?
I would just like to thank everybody. I have been around for a long time, and I just look at the administrators and the school board in general and how several of you and working with you and Jackie and Kristen and so many people that have just had such a big impact on my career, and I've learned so much from each of you, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, and right back at you. And Leanne and I it was funny because the car thing was really cool. We had a ton of people there. And then all of a sudden we looked around and you and I were the last two people standing. And we walked back into the building and Leanne was telling me a quick story about how somebody was, a real brief synopsis, telling kids not to go into teaching because it's not a good profession. And Leanne's response was, I don't know why anyone would say that. I love what I do. And I will always remember that, Leanne, because that's kind of the energy and vibe you give off every day at CMS. So thank you for all that you do. All right. And unfortunately for John, we did not make the other two come up, but that's my fault. So South Lyon High, you got to represent. And John, you're going to have to go up there with Mr. Brennan and the crew.
Thanks, everyone. So this is John Sadowski, obviously our Teacher of the Year at the high school. So I don't know how other buildings decide their Teacher of the Year, but we usually involve Matt and Eric are here as well. We usually kind of sit in my office and start coming up with some names, or maybe write down some names and see what connections we have. And John was an absolute unanimous winner. He's the first, when we said his name, we're all like, yes, it wasn't even any more conversation needed. So it was pretty clear he was going to be our Teacher of the Year this year. John runs our CAD program, our engineering projects class. He's created an architectural design class this year based on the needs of the students. They wanted a different class. He surveyed his students, so he's teaching architectural design this year. Teaches modern tech. I mean, when you run the CTO program, you are the CTE program. There is no other teacher. It's John. So he has a program unto himself in our building. Couple things. I wanted to do a couple comments, and you'll see these are almost like the same letter, and they're written from two completely different people, kind of summarizing the impact that John's had. So this was from a parent that we asked for some comments, talking about their student and kind of their experience in John's classroom. So back in Mr. Sadowski's classroom, my student noticed a difference from some of his other classes. And the quote, "In Mr. Sadowski's class, I always felt valued as a person and that my gifts were valued too." My student commented, "Mr. Sadowski would talk to all of us and find out our interests and goals outside the classroom. He would remember things about each of us and would ask us how things were going or would talk about topics that interested us. They explained that he felt like Mr. Sadowski enjoyed being with the students and wanted them to know they were capable of achieving their goals. The impact Mr. Sadowski had on my student didn't end at graduation. Mr. Sadowski recommended my son for a summer job at a company called Innovate. Taking advantage of another teaching moment, he gave Stuart all the information, the student, and left it up to him to contact the company and secure the job. He continues to be grateful to Mr. Sadowski for the recommendation. The hands-on experience and new skills he acquired on the job have already proved to be useful in his pursuit of becoming an engineer. He stated, "It was rewarding to take the things I learned in his class and apply them to real work and build on those skills and also get paid." As he continues his education at U of M, he hopes to have a professor that is on par with Mr. Sadowski, and maybe one will come along, but maybe not. It takes a very special individual to care enough to take the time to impact a student in a way that lasts a lifetime. It is our sincere privilege to recommend Mr. Sadowski for Teacher of the Year, but when I think about how much he has impacted my son, I know he will always think of him as a teacher of a lifetime. And that was a parent comment. And then we had a student, and again, you'll see some of these same themes talking about John's impact. So this was a student talking about Mr. Sadowski in his class. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have Mr. Sadowski as a teacher from my sophomore year to the ending of my high school career. Having had him for the majority of my time at Southline High School, I believe I got to know him pretty well for a student-teacher relationship. I was lucky enough to take all but one class offered by Mr. Sadowski and was able to do some extracurricular work with him as well. I sat for a while thinking about how to best describe the unique set of skills that he has that set him apart from all the other teachers at Southline High School. I could go on about his attention to detail, the true passion for his area of expertise, or the way he taught in such an intriguing fashion that made me want to learn much more about the scope of his class. All of these attributes are ones that he has, but these were not what truly stood out to me. Mr. Sadowski has a different way of reaching his students, one that is so special, and one that is the way he's able to navigate and handle adversity. Not only that, but the way he is able to connect with the students and treat them. Every student is more than just a name and a face in his classroom. They are a child with a story, a past, a strengths, weaknesses, and most importantly, a bright future, despite their pasts. No matter who the student was, Mr. Sadowski is someone who can recognize that in everyone, and that is very special and very rare. Then he goes on to say, Mr. Sadowski did more for his students than help in the classroom, which is something I can personally testify to. In April, I suddenly lost my father. I was in a state of shock, grief, and more than anything, I felt lost. I had my friends and family and a support system outside of school, but Mr. Sadowski was one of the few teachers who reached out to me personally to see if there was anything he could do to help me. Through the grieving process, he always showed up and continued to check in on me as my senior year came to a close. I would never expected a teacher to show that much care and compassion in a situation like that, but Mr. Sadowski showed up whenever I needed him and was able to offer college support when I needed it post-graduation. This past spring, the seniors of Southline High School participated in Volunteer Day. We completed various projects around the school in order to give back to our community and to our school, all of which have done so much for us for the past 12 years. In this, we received some help from Mr. Sadowski, who designed and oversaw the construction of the flower beds that are present on the school's patio. I was able to see his efforts firsthand and be able to hear him was something very inspiring. It showed me the true importance and meaning of having a genuine passion for your job. Not only does he have a passion for engineering, he has a passion for teaching. I was fortunate enough to be chosen to construct the flower beds, so to work side by side with someone I look up to greatly was a great way to close out my time as a student. Although I will never sit in his classroom again, I know that I will never stop learning lessons from Mr. Sadowski. So those are the two messages, and again, you see those themes of going above and beyond. I mean, John's really the perfect CTE teacher. He has this real-world experience as an installer, connected with his academic knowledge of the subject matter. He pretty much knows how to do anything He even told me if he didn't know how to do it, I would just assume he knows what he's doing so he can tell me anything. And we just blindly believe him. And then he has this natural connection to his students that just love him. So I think it's a perfect combination for a CTE student. So John's very hands-on in our building right now. You'll see the Adirondack chairs that they're building. They're beautiful. That his class builds. He's made the cornhole boards for the school, him and his students. They're awesome if you've seen those. He built the flower beds, him and his students out back that are currently at our building right now. Right now he's working on this kind of an etching device that we just got him that he's working on. So I wanted to do something special for John and get him this. He's making engraving these cool plaques that we've been giving our teachers this year and students when they win something. So of course I go, John, I'd really like to get you one of these. And he's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, well, of course you're going to have to make it because I knows how to do it. So John actually made his own plaque. So. I'm like, you're the only one to know how to do these cool things. You have to make one for yourself. And he thought he was joking at first. I'm like, no, really, you got to make your own plaque. So I'd just like to congratulate John on everything he does for our building. And I know we're very, very lucky to have him. So thanks, John.
Thank you.
How long can you give me?
At hockey practice, so you get
Right, you can gavel me if you need to. So I want to be really quick, and I've been here 5 years now. I came from another district where I did enjoy what I did there as well. I had great relationships, and it was very tough to leave. I remember when I came here 5 years ago. But when talking to my wife frequently about making the transition over here and coming, and she said, are there any regrets that you have, because I built a program over there and kind of working on building one here and keeping it going. And I said, without a doubt, no. There's not really a day that goes by that I regret it. I still think fondly of where I was, but in the words that some of those two students and parents said, I do enjoy what I do here. I really do love it. And if you're in this business long enough, as I'm now in my 20th year, which I find odd, it's kind of a roller coaster. You have good days, you have bad days, you have good years, bad years, and I think right now I'd find it very difficult to name in the past five years really bad days or weeks that I've had, and that is a testament to the students that we have here, for sure. The support structure I have in the building with my 3 administrators, and even my athletic director is always poking around and helping out as well, helping me out. He's a great resource. But I can't be thankful enough, and it's very fulfilling to be here. I have some of the best students around, and they leave and exit my class, and I always want them to know that they have a place to be. They can come and let me know if they need anything, but what they don't know is how much they actually give me and how fulfilling it is to teach here, and I really do enjoy it. So thank you guys, and thank you all.
I would just like to share that we're very proud of our teaching staff from one side of the district to the other, and we know there's a great many folks that deserve recognition for everything that they do on a daily basis. So to be selected from such an outstanding group of individuals, to be honored in the way that you have been as Teachers of the Year is really quite something. And we thank you so much for all that you do for our kids every single day, and all that you've done over the years, putting in a full career and a lifetime here. That's phenomenal stuff. So thank you very much. Congratulations.
Again, I'll just add to that, each of you, again, tough selections out of all the folks that we had to choose from, but certainly very well deserved. I learned of each of you probably before I even met you, and all that you bring to the district. Certainly a credit not only to the district, but an asset to the profession. I think also what we heard here and what we know is required to be an effective and impactful teacher is in all 3 cases we felt the passion. We felt the care that they have for their students, and in that right environment, learning happens. It doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it takes a tremendous amount of effort by some very special people, so thank you.
take like a 60-second break.
Yeah, see you in a minute or two.
Trying to make sure the hallway's clear.
For sure, yeah. So if you guys want to do it.
Just a couple of minutes.
Honestly, I was gonna ask Pat if he carries his gun. When you see you, eventually we can see him there.
That wasn't that Brian's strategy. He was going to see those and wanted to check.
Steve, did you tell me that we were on the phone the other day that we were 200 series lower now than we were 400? And then my next question was, is there any update on the student special meeting board disciplinary hearing as far as like charges or like
I checked on it today, they have not set a court date yet.
still not? No. He's going to go to. Is he good? Is that high?
All right. So with that, we'll resume business. And item number 4 is public comment for our speakers. Again, this is an opportunity for us to hear from the public. We don't typically engage in a conversation during this time. We just listen. If there's anything that needs to be responded to, we'll do so in email or a call after the fact. And as always, respectful interactions are expected and appreciated. And we just have one yellow card tonight, is Mr. Brenton Monty with good things. So if you would, sir, please.
Hello, everybody. Brenton Monty. I'm here on behalf of the SLEA to share some of the good things happening around our district that have been shared with us from some of our members. Certainly not all the great things happening, but those shared this month. And of course, we honor our Teachers of the Year as well. Jackie Cope and Colleen Crowell nominate the SLHS National Honor Society. NHS conducted their yearly Penny Wars during March for Jacob Michael Davis Foundation, established by SLHS teacher Eric Davis in memory of his son. This foundation supports families dealing with childhood cancer. This year they raised $2,994. Patty Rains nominates Melissa Robinson. Melissa Robinson organized a very successful March's Reading Month at Salem Elementary. The theme was Reading is Our Superpower. She brought this alive by decorating the entire school with superhero decorations. I feel like I saw a lot of them, so it was pretty impressive. The students were so excited. She planned exciting events throughout the month, including Family Reading Night. There were over 200 families participating. The students at Salem had a lot of fun this month while reading. Huge thanks to Mrs. Robinson. The Southline High School Peers program was nominated. On March 21st, Southline High's Peers program had the opportunity to accompany extraordinary students to the movies during their community-based instruction. About 60 peer mentors and peers went to Imagine Theater in Novi to watch Champions, a movie about looking past barriers and seeing the potential in everyone, and remembering to celebrate the small successes in life. During the outing, peer mentors partnered with exceptional students to ride the bus and assist in ordering their snacks and refreshments. Once settled in, all the students were able to enjoy a feel-good story that reminded many of them of the time they spent in February taking part in the SLHS Unified Basketball game. Having the opportunity to once again hang out together someplace other than school continued to help build SLHS's community of inclusivity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. All right, item number 5 is approval of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Leftwich, second by Mrs. Riminelli. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 6 is approval of minutes. We have the March 21st regular meeting, April 4th special meeting, and April 12th special meeting. Do we have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Riminelli, seconded by Mr. McGuire. And Mrs. Hertel, please. Oh, do we, no, we don't need to. We'll just, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 7 is approval of bills. We have the March 2023 wires and ACH transactions, March 2023 revenue report, March 2023 prepays, and April 2023 bond run. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move the approval of bills as outlined in item 7. Support.
Moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Do we have any comments or questions? All right, Mrs. Hertel, please.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Ms. Riminelli?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 8, hiring of instructional staff. Mr. Toth.
Yep. An open position required the hiring of the following instructional staff: Christina Corbelli, resource room teacher at Kent Lake and Salem Elementary Schools. And the recommended action is to approve the hiring of the instructional staff listed above as described.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the hiring of the instructional staff listed above as described.
I'll support.
Moved by Dr. Laszlo, supported by Mr. Leftwich. Any comments? Questions? Welcome to the district. Mr. Tell, please.
Ms. Riminelli?
Yes.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Ms. Corbelli. Item number 9 is childcare leave extension. Mr. Toth.
Megan Wagner has been on a child care leave for the 2022-23 school year. She is requesting a second and final year of child care leave for the 23-24 school year. A recommended action is to approve the request for a 23-24 child care leave as presented.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the request as outlined in item 9.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McGuire and seconded by Mrs. Riminelli. And Mrs. Hertel, please. Oh, comments, questions? Yes. Usually they aren't for that particular thing, which is why I wasn't thinking it, but thank you. Anything from the group? No? All right, Mr. Hertel.
Mr. Schwegler?
Yes.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes.
Ms. Riminelli?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 10 is acceptance of gifts. Mr. Toth.
The high school robotics team received a donation of $1,750 from Pratt and Miller Engineering and Fabrication to be used by the high school robotics team for supplies, materials, travel, and food. Recommended action here is to accept the gift listed above in accordance with policy 7003.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the gifts listed above in accordance with policy 7003.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Hertel, supported by Mr. McGuire. Any comments, questions? As always, our robotics folks are tremendous fundraisers, and the community is hugely generous. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
Nope.
Apologies. Okay, Mr. Hertel, please.
Ms. Riminelli?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11 is the 2023-24 Oakland Schools ISD Budget Resolution, and we have Mrs. Gray.
School districts are required by state law to pass a resolution expressing their support for or disapproval of the proposed intermediate school district budget. Recommended action is to approve the resolution in support of the Oakland Intermediate School District 2023-24 proposed budget.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the resolution in support of the Oakland ISD 23-24 budget.
I'll second that.
Moved by Dr. Laszlo and seconded by Mr. Leftwich. Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. Tubb, please call the roll.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Manelli?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 12, Bond 2020 Technology Device Purchases, and Mrs. Gray.
Presented to the board today is a request to purchase Chromebooks and accessories in accordance with the device purchasing schedule for Bond 2020. These are new purchases to replace Chromebooks that will reach the end of the district replacement cycle. Bids were received from the Spring 2023 Spot REMC bid on April 13th, 2023 for the student devices. 4 bids were available for standard 11-inch Chromebooks and 2 bids were available for 11-inch convertible touchscreen models on the Spot REMC competitive bid results. The quantities and costs are within the projected budget for purchases of mobile computing devices identified in the 2020 bond for technology. Due to the probability of districts across the state placing early orders and creating a backlog in shipping, we are requesting the board review and approve this request on the April 18th, 2023 board meeting. The recommended action is to award the purchases as follows. CDW Education for 1,700 of the Lenovo 100E Chromebook Gen 3 in the amount of $399,993. CDW Education for 200 of the Lenovo 300E Yoga Gen 4 in the amount of $54,220. And then C-High Computer Products for 1,900 Chromebook management licenses in the amount of $56,278.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please?
I will move approval of the Bond 2020 technology device purchases as outlined in item 12.
Seconded.
Moved by Mr. Leftwich and seconded by Dr. Laszlo. Do we have any comments or questions regarding the technology? Good. Okay, Mr. Tom.
Dr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Manelli?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Schweigler?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to item 13, section B of our agenda, information and inquiry, which brings us to letter A, updates on the 98C learning loss plan, and Mrs. Inglum. Excuse me.
The 98C grant was an appropriation made by the Michigan legislature in the 2022-23 school aid budget bill. This grant is a one-time per pupil payment to districts that apply and have met all requirements. The intent of the funding, as stated in the legislation, is that it is utilized to help address learning loss. South Lyon Community Schools' final allocation for this grant will be $432,851. Districts are required to fully expend all funds by September 30th of 2023. Information regarding our district's anticipated use of the funding was shared with the board in October of this school year. Since that time, the state has shared additional information regarding the allowable uses of the funding, and our district's final allocation came in higher than the original estimated allocation. Our district's updated plan for use of the funding is included as an enclosure this evening. The updated learning loss mitigation plan includes the purchasing of materials to support intervention and specialized instruction at the elementary level, funding to support summer programs for identified kindergarten through 12th grade students, the purchase of professional learning books in support of the implementation of Universal Design for Learning, the purchase of updated developmental reading assessment kits at the elementary level, and funding to support staffing of our Graduation Alliance credit recovery courses running at the high school level this year. This updated learning loss mitigation plan has been shared with our Finance and Curriculum and Communications committees and has been posted to our district's website. Should the plan require any additional adjustments as we continue with implementation, updates will be brought back to the Board of Education for information.
Thank you. Any questions from the group? Okay, item B, updates to ESSER 3 plan of use.
Switch locations. Okay, tonight's presentation is going to provide an update to our district's plan of use for the American Rescue Plan, or ARP, Elementary and Secondary School Relief, or ESSER 3 funding. As a reminder, under the ESSER 3 funding, the district receives a formula allocation, which is based on a calculation that is specified in the legislation. This calculation is proportionate to our Title I allocation. South Lyon's ESSER 3 allocation is $1,394,188, and the period for allowable expenses under ESSER 3 is March 13th, 2020 through September 30th of 2023. We are able to carry over unused funds and use them through September 30th of 2024, and our district spending plan does plan on having us utilize the funds through next school year as well. This is just a quick summary and reminder of the types of allowable uses that are permitted under ESSER 3. One of the requirements of the grant is that the district submit a narrative plan for the use of funds. This is a screenshot of the questions that make up the narrative plan for use of funds in the application that the district is required to submit to the Michigan Department of Education. These questions outline the district's intended plan for spending. The narrative plan for use of funds is not a line item budget. It is a narrative description of intended use of the provided funds. A separate line item budget is part of the finalized application submission to the Michigan Department of Education. These responses have been previously shared and have also been submitted to MDE. However, as we are continuing to implement our budget for these funds, we are making adjustments as additional grants become available or to respond to actual costs of program implementation. This has caused us to revise our original narrative plan to be sure that it aligns with the updates that we have made. We're going to review each of these questions in the narrative plan for use of funds in more detail, and I will identify the question where we are making adjustments. This first question asks us to describe the extent to which and how the funds are utilized to implement prevention and mitigation strategies that are designed to the greatest extent feasible to be consistent with the current CDC guidance on reopening schools related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So our response to this question has not changed. Our district is planning to utilize some of the funding in order to purchase MERV 13 air filters for increased air filtration at the buildings. This next question asks us to describe how we will utilize. There is a required 20% reservation to ensure that we are addressing any impacts of lost instructional time. And this question does specifically call out things like extended learning opportunities and specifically summer learning. Our response to this question has not changed as we're continuing to utilize funding to be able to provide summer programming for identified students. This is the only question where we have a revision, and in this question I have underlined at the bottom the addition that we have made. We have added a statement that indicates our plan to purchase instructional materials that support the implementation of evidence-based practices in literacy and mathematics. And this next question asks us to describe how the district will ensure that the interventions that we are implementing address the needs of all students, including the needs of students in identified subgroups, and our response to this question has also not changed. These are the 4 questions that make up the total narrative plan for use of funds. And again, this narrative plan is just one portion of what we actually submit to MDE. It does include also our line item budget. The budget that is submitted has to align with our narrative plan for use of funds. So that's why you occasionally see this narrative plan specifically coming back if there are things that we're finding we need to adjust within our budget that we have not explicitly addressed within our narrative plan. These updates have been previously shared with the Finance and Curriculum and Communications Committees as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And that brings us to item C, cooperative agreement for Novi virtual program. And Mrs. Kukla.
Yes. This school year, students in our district who desired a fully virtual learning program were able to enroll in Novi's virtual learning program through a cooperative agreement between our two districts. The partnership benefited us both. Novi was able to fill more seats within their virtual learning program, and we would not have been able to provide a cost-effective, fully virtual option for our students. There just weren't enough students at any particular grade level or for any particular course to make that an option for our district to be a part of. Feedback from students and families has been very positive this school year. Those who have attended the virtual learning program in Novi because it was either a better fit or for medical reasons or for family travel reasons have really enjoyed the quality of instruction they've gotten there. They felt like it's been a good match for what we were offering here in our districts. In our districts are well aligned for pieces like that, so it's been a good match for us. Again, it has been a really good option for the 42 students that we currently have in. We've had some students come and go from the program, so as I shared at Curriculum and Communications, some students started the year in Novi's program, and as perhaps medical conditions changed or family travel plans became where they were back in the United States full-time, students have come back to in-person learning, and some students who started the year in in-person learning have switched to Novi virtual. So it's been very good for us to have that flexibility that we can offer students and families for these unique situations. We are looking to continue that partnership with Novi for next year. They have provided an updated cooperative agreement for your review. There are no changes to the language within the agreement. However, the pricing structure is slightly changed. As a reminder, Novi cannot profit off of offering this cooperative agreement with our district. They are charging us what it would take for that cost within their own district as well. So $20 increase per course and a $10 increase in the administrative fees per student. Additionally, one other shift that has been made is there are some additional courses being offered at the high school level, particularly in the elective area, so students can take those. A number of them are being offered asynchronously, which helps students to be able to free up some flexibility within their schedule as well. So we are sharing this with you for this board meeting and bringing it back May 2nd for approval. We did share it with Curriculum and Communications at our last meeting as well.
Questions?
I have a question. Are any of the students any of our South Lyon students participating in co-curricular activities here in South Lyon?
I'm aware of at least one, yes.
At least one.
So they are able to. That's
yeah.
not a question I typically ask them as they're enrolling, but I know we have at least one who is. So they are able to. They're still our students, so they can still attend all of our activities. They can participate in our teams and sports. For many of the students that chose to enroll in this program, there is a reason that they would prefer to be virtual or that they need to be virtual. So they may not opt back in for our extra and co-curriculars, but they are welcome to do so.
Yeah, I'm glad they're welcome. Of course they're welcome, and I wonder if we're reaching out to them and making sure that they know they're welcome for all South Lyon co-curricular activities.
We can make sure that we are reminding them of that.
Thank you. Item D, April review of the SLCS return to in-person instruction and continuity of service plan. Ms. Singlo.
Okay. Under the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, districts are required to develop and maintain a return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. This plan outlines and details the district's plan for a safe return to or maintenance of in-person instruction and is required to include information regarding the district's implementation of the Center for Disease Control, or CDC's, most current guidance. The plan is required to be reviewed every 6 months during the period of the grant, which runs through the end of the 2023-24 school year. The first portion of the plan captures our instructional model. Nearly all students are receiving full-time in-person instruction. Families had the opportunity to sign up for the Novi virtual program through our district if they desired fully remote learning for the year. And at the secondary level, if families wanted totally asynchronous learning, they were able to request 21F courses online instead. Our district also increased staffing for supporting students' mental health needs. The health and safety protocols included in the plan are a reiteration of our current practices. The plan was originally shared with the Board of Education in October of this school year. Following the required 6-month review cycle, the plan shared in October has been reviewed and no modifications were required. The reviewed plan was shared with the Curriculum and Communications Committee to provide additional opportunities for public input and will be reviewed and shared again in 6 months.
And that will be the.
So probably October of next school year and then most likely April again.
Okay.
One more year.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. And item E, 2023-24 budget update. Mrs. Gray.
Mr. Abate, we threw a curveball to you. I'm actually going to share the update, and Mrs. Gray has the opportunity to correct any errors, omissions, and such. As you know, just want to provide a brief update. Since we brought the first budget amendment to the board on February 7th, at that time, we introduced what was about a $2.4 million deficit for the 22-23 school year. Our final budget amendment in June is anticipated to be slightly better, probably approximately closer to $2 million. So if all goes well and as through Mrs. Gray's hard work, we'll still be at about a 9.5% fund balance at the conclusion of the school year. Again, the deficit was significant. Some of the key factors that are impacting the overall budget are enrollment, and this is really a review. Our enrollment compared to 2022 was relatively flat. We had anticipated or projected a 1% increase, so that was a $1 million swing against us. At the time that Mrs. Witt shared the proposed budget for this school year, the bargaining agreements had not been figured into that budget, and we settled agreements with all of our groups. And also, and over the last 3 years, as we've said at this table and other tables, we have increased our staffing across the board to support both students and staff dealing with and coming out of a pandemic. And to date, we're currently sitting at about 400 fewer students than we had prior to COVID in 2020. And as we have talked at the Finance Committee meetings, as well as at this table, we know that, with these deficits and where we are, that we have some right sizing to do. So I have shared the information I'm about to share with you with the Finance Committee, and just wanted to give you an update before we come back with some recommendations and our budget proposal for next year. At the Finance Committee on April 3rd, that committee helps us each year establish our assumptions for building the budget the following year. Basically two factors. One, we are projecting a 0.25% increase in student enrollment, which is about 21 students. And we are projecting a 5% increase in the per pupil funding. That is the governor's recommended increase in her proposed budget. At this point, we do not have proposed budgets from the House or the Senate. So we're going with the only one we have. We'll keep you updated on that if and when it changes. So those are the two assumptions on which the budget would be, revenues would be built. Our current financial outlook for 23-24. Our expenditures are projected to exceed revenues, creating an operating deficit in excess of $4.2 million. If we just simply wrote a check in that amount and stayed status quo, it would take our fund balance to 5.68%. To give you an idea, the context for those numbers, our expected revenues are $117,561. I'm sorry, $117,561,943. Our expected expenditures are $121,853,944. And again, that difference results in about a $4.29 million operating deficit. So clearly with that and the information we have today, we know that we need to offset that projected deficit through reductions, through revenue enhancement, and through cost containment measures. Some of the action steps we've started taking already, we met with administrators yesterday, and we'll be working with district administrators and department heads to identify potential reductions, areas where we can perhaps increase revenue, generate revenues, and cost containment ideas. We will freeze the carryover budgets in the building carryover budgets for the 23-24 school year. So anything that they've used those budgets for, that they've included in their current year budget, and that they've worked with Ms. Gray on, we'll go ahead and process. But until further notice, we'll freeze the carryover for 23-24. We've asked the building administrators to make a 10% reduction in their building allocations for the coming year. Again, we will work extremely hard. Obviously, 85% or more of our expenses are in personnel, the personnel-related expenses across the board. We will work to make as many necessary staff reductions as possible through attrition. That will be a primary focus of ours. And certainly, we will continue to work with and update the Finance Committee, update this board, and bring additional recommendations and information to you prior to asking you to approve a budget for next school year. So that was a lot of information. I'm happy to entertain any questions or deflect them to Mrs. Gray.
Steve, not to put you on the spot, because I don't know how well you know the actual previous fund balance history. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but can you comment maybe on the history of the fund balance, both pre-COVID, what COVID did to it and why, and then kind of where we are coming out of COVID now, just to kind of explain why there's such a big swing?
I can, I'll do what I probably should never do, which is to speak off the cuff, and then I will pull the numbers together for you. It's my understanding from our conversations that as a district, we have typically maintained a relatively, I'll say relatively low, a lower fund balance. Through the pandemic, our fund balance increased to probably maybe 15-16% at its peak. Obviously, we had the influx of a lot of COVID-related dollars and so forth that we tried to maximize. Now we're at a position where we're going to be swinging back the other way to right size. I'll be happy to go back through.
I have some data, if you want me to share it.
Oh, you have some data?
Yep.
How about that?
So you're right. So in 18-19, our fund balance, we were at 8.9%, and then when 19-20 ended, we were at 10.7, and then by the end of 2021, we went to 15.3%. And then last year ended at 13.2, and we're estimating now to be down in 9.5 range.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure people understood that while it seems like we're dropping quite precipitously, a lot of that has to do with grant monies drying up. Even we've taken out all those expenses and we weren't so quick to right size, right? It was kind of a slower right sizing, and I didn't want people to kind of panic if they were looking at that big swing.
Yeah, I think it's too early to panic. I think my comments been we've got some runway to work with, and I wanted to make sure that this information was shared with the board and with the public as well, so that we're not operating in a vacuum, but we'll start doing some of the heavy lifting, and you know, at the end of the day, we will get there and continue to provide an outstanding education for our kids and a wonderful environment for our staff in which to work.
Well, it's never fun situations, or to put it mildly, but I know that you've been in some and you've seen worse. So I have a lot of confidence that you guys are gonna handle things.
Regrettably, I have some experience in this.
Any other questions or?
Quick question. You had mentioned that the projection for this year is a 0.25% increase, and I know last year we came in flat. Again, sorry to put you on the spot, but I guess where did that 0.25% increase number come from? Was it looking at trending and where we are? Because I know we're down 400 students. Are we going to be able to hit it? Because what I'd hate to see is for us to come back at the end of next year or next year and be disappointed with another flat or decrease.
So when we look at the enrollment in it, our funding is based off of, it's a 90-10 formula, so it's 10% of our spring enrollment or FTE count. So that's 10% of what we already know from our spring count. And then 90% of it is based on our next fall count. So that's the number that we need to be up 20 or 21 students to satisfy this. Both Mrs. Beagle in pupil and accounting and I looked at it a couple different ways, and basically we do look at trend data. We take current classes, we move them up. We can look at our kindergarten classes and where they have typically been at, make some comparisons to our graduating classes. I tend to look at our transitions, so on average over the last 5 years, we probably lose about 25 students between the 8th and the 9th grade, if you look just rolling them up. But we pick up, on average, over that same 5 years, 5 students at between the 5th and the 6th grade. So we kind of put those numbers together. I took one approach to it, she took another approach to it, and we were within 2 students of each other. So again, it's definitely not an exact science. If you have spent any time at all looking at pupil accounting, I always give the example, you can start the year with 100 students and you can end the year with 100 students, and there's no way that they're the same 100 students throughout the course of the year. Students are coming and going all along. We do feel pretty confident. We have 3 developments that we know of where homes are being built and students are enrolling, and so we feel optimistic about those 3, and we know that there's future for other developments that will be underway. So I feel, and we talked about it in the finance committee, we talked about a 0, we talked about a half. And I think we felt comfortable that 2 things. 1, we can hit this. Ideally, we'll exceed it. And if we don't, quite honestly, the hit of a few $100,000 is probably not insurmountable. Is probably the best way I can sum it up. So, you're welcome.
Yeah, Tony, if I could add a couple of things. One, just for general information, the fund equity, according to policy that we have to stay on, is 8%. We are finishing this year at 9.5. I am glad that the Finance Committee went with the conservative number of 0.25%. We had a lot of discussion over that and came to an agreement on that, and I think that's going to be good for the overall budget, because I believe we're going to come in higher than that. I just look at the growth in this town of these subdivisions. We went with 1% last year, and we didn't realize it. I think there may be a delay. I think we're going to start realizing those numbers a lot more. So again, I do look at this with some optimism. I think we're in good shape. Like Steve said, I think we have a lot of runway in front of us, and we're not even at a point where we're looking at overriding policy at this point. We're still in a really safe financial position.
All right, thank you very
The only other thing I want to point out, and just for folks that aren't aware, Mrs. Gray's been with us less than 2 months. About 7 weeks, less than 2 months. And I mean, she's been working tirelessly, the number of hours she's putting in to I mean, to come into a district mid-year, to come into the things and to make sense of it all and to have things in order like she did, to boom, to be able to pull up the answer to Mr. Swagger's question like that. Again, I just want to say that she has been, in just a very short time, a tremendous asset to the district, and have great confidence in having her help us work through this situation.
Very happy to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that, Mr. Archibald. And the Finance Committee meetings have gotten far more informative and depth, with a lot of depth and a lot of like broad information about a lot of things in the district's financial issues that we previously really weren't getting reported on. So thank you for all your hard work on that. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Archibald, you up again for some legislation?
There's the only thing really out there right now is more labor-related, which would impact education. There's several bills out related to the prohibitive subjects of bargaining, and some other bills that have to do with retroactive pay and benefits, but nothing that's near the governor's desk yet. So we do know the third grade reading bill did pass. That will take effect next school year, so we'll still go through the normal process this year. But that's all we have for right now.
Okay, thank you. Board committee reports. We'll begin with legislative and Mr. Leffler.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. Unfortunately, the county meeting on that was April 12th, which is the night of one of our special meetings. So I'm going to allow Mr. Archibald's legislative report to stand on its own tonight.
All right, very good. Brings us to policy. We met today, making some tweaks to the administrative regulation for eligibility for students to participate in extracurricular events. It's just a slight adjustment back to pre-pandemic formatting and expectations for grade points and passage of classes and those sorts of things. And that was pretty much it for policy.
The health supplement thing.
Oh, yeah. There's some commentary on, there's a small adjustment to clarify a prohibition on students sharing any sort of medication or dietary supplement with one another, which is never good, so we don't allow it. All right. And that brings us to finance. Mr. Schwegler.
So you heard about all of it. Our timelines, just to kind of get you in the loop, we have to approve our next amended budget by end of June, but we should be ready for first June meeting, I believe. So we'll hopefully have another finance meeting somewhere around May 21st to go over those details before we bring it to the board.
Okay, thank you. Facilities and grounds.
Yes, we did have a meeting since our last board meeting, and as you can see, there's some summer projects starting off. One of the big ones, which I think everybody's looking forward to, is the pool up at South Lyon High School. Notwithstanding some of the parking that the kids are going through, but they have young legs, they're good to go. Some projects that are starting up with design, food service across the district between elementary, middle school, and high school, CTE at South Lyon High School and South Lyon East, a myriad of CAD design rooms, computer rooms, cybersecurity rooms, software learning, fab labs, machine shop, and then up at South Lyon High School, the media center is under design. And I saw a few preliminary renderings, and I think it's going to be super cool. And that's it for facilities and grounds.
All right, want to keep rolling with.
And curriculum and communication, Mrs. Ingram and Ms. Kudwa did it for me, so I don't have anything to add.
All right, very good. Madam H, do we have any other?
I may steal a couple board members' thunder on this one, but the repeat is worth it. If you missed it, this past weekend, All Shook Up musical at South Lyon High School. It was date night for the Archibalds. Paid full price for admission. And it was, and I hesitate to say this because Mr. Toffler used it against me at some point, I enjoy Elvis music. That will haunt me at some point in the next 3 months. But the students, The whole cast and crew, there was so much positive energy. The singing was phenomenal, the choreography, everything. It was, and I've been to my fair share of high school plays and musicals, one of the best I've seen. So hats off to everybody involved in it, and especially I'm sure there were a lot of parents who volunteered their time and energy as well to make that happen, but hats off to them. And if you missed that and you want to make up for it, Mamma Mia is going to be at South Lyon East in a couple weeks, and I'd encourage you to get tickets for that.
Okay, item 14, report from the South Lane Educational Foundation. Anything happening there, Mr. McGuire?
A repeat from before, just a reminder that the Education Foundation gives out 2 $1,000 scholarships for graduating seniors, one from each high school. It's a Perseverance Award for students who've overcome significant obstacles in their lives or demonstrated dramatic academic improvement. So there's no GPA requirement with that, but the deadline is tomorrow, so act now. And also, if anyone's looking for an easy way to support the Education Foundation, the 28th this month from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., Aubrey's will donate 20% of the bill to SLEF if you just mention the Education Foundation when you order.
Good stuff. All right, thank you very much for that. Item 15 is our second opportunity for public comment. I do not have any new yellow cards. Is there anybody in the crowd that would like to come and speak? You can fill a card out after. Okay. I see shaking of heads, so we'll move on to the next piece. Item 16, correspondence, requires no action from us. Item 17, we have meeting dates. Our next regular meeting will occur on May 2nd at 7 o'clock, right here under these lights. Item number 18 then is board comments. Mr. Towers, would you like to kick us off this time?
Yes, I do get to start tonight. Yes, Mr. Archibald stole some thunder, but I'm going to say it again. The South Lyon High School Theater Department did All Shook Up, and I have to say it was absolutely phenomenal. My kid was in it, so I was there and watched every single performance, and every single performance was very fun to watch. The energy that these kids did was outstanding and phenomenal. We actually had a very large senior class of kids, so to watch them do their last performance was on occasion a little teary-eyed, because I've seen watch those kids all 4 years, and it was just an excellent performance, and the ticket sales were phenomenal, which was great for the kids. When they looked out into the auditorium, there was hardly an empty seat to be seen, which just gives them that much more energy, and when the audience interacts with them at certain parts of the show, it just gave them a whole lot more fun, it's very fun. Mamma Mia starts on April 27th. I'm looking forward to going up to see that. I'm sure it'll be just as fun and exciting. Musicals always, are just fun to watch. I know they had a track meet tonight. I don't know what the outcome was. I know that everyone's probably left very cold because I got here frozen. Trying to think what else. I think we're just in full swing of spring sports, right, Mr. Toth? You always like to let me know when I'm not speaking correctly on sports. So excellent, thank you. I got to participate this morning at South Lyon High School. They had their senior expo, reality something. I don't know what it was. I sat at a desk and I helped. So it's kind of fun to see the kids. They had to go around and they were given a budget and they had to figure out how much money they had to spend for housing and transportation and food and clothing and leisure and charity. So I was at the charity table. I encourage them. It's very lovely to donate, and if you can't donate money, you can always donate time. So the community is always appreciative of that. So that was a fun thing to see the seniors come through and do that. So, and with that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we go a little back and forth. You want to?
Sure. Mine's pretty brief today. I just want to extend my congratulations to those that were selected as Teachers of the Year. It's always such a great kind of feather in the cap for them for what they've done in their career. So I'm really excited to hear about their successes. And I think I talk loud enough without it, but that's okay. But other than that, yeah, I'd keep it short and sweet tonight. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rinaldi?
Okay, between Mr. Archibald and Ms. Ertel, they stole all my thunder. The musical, fantastic. The pit got to be up on the stage, which is something new. My child, who has been in the pit, was very happy she didn't have to clean the pit. But they had a blast. I'll never forget her coming home from rehearsal during Tech Week when they're in there and saying, "Mom, this is really funny. We're having fun." Again, looking forward to Mamma Mia in the next couple weeks. Congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. What a great opportunity, again, especially coming from such a wide selection. And I too was at the SLHS Expo this morning, and I was at the leisure table and had many young folks coming back to realign their budget, realizing that they didn't have quite the funds at the end of the day for their leisure activities. So, but again, they were pretty creative. They had a lot of fun. So well done on that. It was a great opportunity. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Leppich?
Thank you, Mr. Abate. I wanted to also congratulate our Teachers of the Year, Ashley, Leanne, and John. We're very fortunate to have you. It's really fun to listen to your administrators speak to your talents and skills and dedication. You're certainly very deserving. Thank you again. And welcome to Ms. Corbelli, our new hire tonight.
All right, thank you. Mr. McGuire?
I'm repeating the other members, but I think we can't say it enough that, I mean, the staff in this district are really what, such a key part of what makes it such an amazing district and makes it so great for our students. So thank you to all of them, and congratulations, big congratulations to those 3 Teachers of the Year. I'm sure it's probably very difficult because we have such amazing staff here, but congrats to them. Again, welcome Ms. Corbelli, and one last event that wasn't mentioned yet, the Millennium Middle School leaves early tomorrow morning or late tonight, whichever way you want to call it. So I wish them safe travels. Thank you to all the teachers and other volunteers that are going along with a bunch of middle schoolers, and Godspeed to them.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Lasso?
Sure. So I'd actually like to thank Superintendent Archibald for participating in a special education symposium in Washington, D.C. before spring break and communicating with Congress regarding the IDEA Full Funding Act on behalf of our district. Just a quick shout out to the community that anyone can write their representatives at any time. If they have any thoughts on the funding of education, you can all do that too. I do. My second thing was to just a shout out and congrats to the Flying Toasters on being awarded the First Impact Award, the most prestigious award at First. It honors the team that best represents a model for other teams to emulate and best embodies the mission of First, which is inspiring respect and honor for science and technology to encourage future leaders. So I was just really impressed by that and proud of the efforts of each and every one of the team, coaches, and mentors.
Thank you. Yeah, it was wonderful to see our Teachers of the Year. I'd love to have the opportunity to honor them in this forum. Our staff works really hard and deserve all the recognition in the world, and it's nice to be able to do that. And great added perk, the lease. And that's, did you say it was Feldman? Yes. Is that correct? Yes, can't say their name enough.
Feldman New Hudson.
Feldman New Hudson. Thank you so much. That was very kind and exciting. Thank you for the reports that were shared this evening, and we know that our administrative team, both here and in the buildings, have some work ahead of them with respect to the budget, and those things are not easy, and those decisions won't be easy. But we have every confidence and all the trust in the world that you'll handle that very capably and with all the heart that's required, particularly for the decisions that may impact people, working in the district. So, thank you in advance for the work that you're going to do there to keep us in a good place going forward. And that's all that I have, besides to ask you all for a motion to adjourn. So may I have a motion, please?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Leftwich and seconded by Mr. McGuire. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.